After following the correct approach, getting into a proper stance, gripping the bar, triggering, and making sure our breath and tightness is set, the last thing we want to discuss is the actual lift. The importance of the lift is everything to do with the efficiency of the movement. So we want to really focus on proper muscle recruitment and proper lever alignment. We're going to discuss both of these in the next videos. All right, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make besides improper muscle recruitment is actually a runoff of that actual problem. And that is not getting your upper body and lower body on the same page and moving them in unison. One of the biggest things I look for whenever I see people not doing it properly is that the bar does not move up when the hips move up. So the first thing we want to talk about is getting the upper body and the lower body on the same page and moving them as one cohesive unit. The next thing we want to talk about is proper lever alignment leading into the initiation of the lift. So once we get our stance, get into our, have our grip, and we trigger, we're going to hold it right at the trigger just to show you what I'm talking about. Proper lever alignment, you're going to notice everything from the top of his head to his ass is completely aligned. His heels are going to drive straight down, his knees are out, and if you notice, he's going to be looking about 10 to 15 feet in front of him. This puts us in the best position to lift efficiently so that we can get big weights instead of bitch weights. Another important note about muscular activation as well as lever alignment is the importance of activating your lats and traps without retracting your shoulder blades. We want to avoid any thoracic rounding, which commonly happens whenever people are deadlifting the wrong way, but we also want to avoid retracting the shoulder blades, which can cause a trap tear. So make sure that you keep your lats nice and tight as well as your upper back without retracting your shoulder blade in order to avoid any trap tears or avoid any rounding of the back. In order to initiate the first part of the lift, what we're going to do is after triggering and being in the quarter squat stance, we're going to drive our heels as forcefully and as fast through the ground as possible. Make sure when you do this, again, pull the slack out of the bar and maintain your breath and your tightness. All right, after initiating the movement by driving your heels into the ground, the next thing we're going to do is focus on pulling back once we get the bar moving up our shins. So let's get into the triggering movement. Initiate the movement. He's going to initiate with his hamstring and his ass, not his lower back. Once he moves it up his shins, going to hold it right there. He's going to focus on pulling back now and as well really focus on dragging the bar up his body instead of letting the bar get away from him. This keeps you more mechanically efficient and allows you to lift far more weight. All right, after essentially dragging the bar up into knee level, at this point what we're going to do is by initiating our butt cheeks, what we're going to do is really focus on extending our hips while pulling back and continuing to drive our heels through the ground. The whole time you're doing this, you're nice and tight and you're accelerating through the movement. So let's see what it looks like in real time. He's going to get a stance, grip. He's going to trigger, initiate with his hamstrings, ass. At this point, he's still got it nice, tight, tucked in. Everything is aligned. Now, once he moves it up his knees, he's going to very quickly and explosively pull his hips through by initiating it with his ass. All right, two of the big mistakes I want to make sure y'all don't make is while at the top of the lift, when you're extending, number one, I don't want you overextending your hips. This can lead to lumbar spine injury. Don't want you to do that. So in order to show you that what that looks like, we can adjust and do that real quick. So he pulls, everything is good. But at the top, he pulls through too much. This puts a lot of stress on the lumbar spine. You don't want your lower back hurt. It's fucked up, it hurts, you don't want it. All right, the next thing we want to avoid is retracting our shoulder blades and shrugging at the top. It's just not necessary. You run a high risk if you're starting to pull heavy weights of tearing your trapezius again. We want to avoid injury at all costs, so do not make these two mistakes.